Hey guys, it's Steven Sun at Homes by Sun with Remax, Toronto real estate agent, coming back again for another weekly review of how the real estate market did the previous week. Last week we skipped a video because I was getting a little bit overwhelmed with everything that was going on. Have about 4 listings that I'm preparing to be on the market. So there's a lot of moving pieces, getting staging in, getting photographers in, getting renovation work done. Things are happening in the real estate market despite what you're reading in the news. A lot of news outlet has been reporting that sales are down, activities are down. Yes, they are down, but we were coming in from the really height of the market in the last 5 years. That was the peak. We're coming back down a little bit. It doesn't mean the sky's falling. It just means that buyers and sellers are taking their time. A lot of listings are not selling because the sellers are not budging. They don't want to really drop the price too low because a lot of these sellers are not actually over leveraged. There are a certain percentage of them, but majority of them were trying to see if they can get a good price before they move on. If they can, they're going to stay. So there's no urgency. There's no fire sale with majority of the seller, and that's why you're seeing listings taking a little bit longer time. It's because people are willing to give that time, not because at least even at lower prices they can't sell. We are seeing that good properties, well priced, are still moving. So let's take a look at the last couple of weeks number. Let me just share my screen. All right, so we've been tracking the Toronto real estate market since beginning of the year. This is the chart that I've been using. A lot of the numbers I have to manually calculate, especially the average sale price, because I'm only looking at for the GTA, Durham, Halton, Peel, York, and Toronto. Those are the major regions that I'm focusing on, and they give an indicator of how the surrounding market are likely going to do. These markets are doing well. The surrounding markets are likely going to do well also. So this week, we are looking at these 3 data points from last week of April to first couple of weeks of May. And what we can see is first of all, the number of transactions has dropped a bit, and the number of listings has been going up. So this is the curve, has been going up, and number of transactions has been coming down. That always puts a pressure on the price. When there are more listings on the market than buyers, obviously buyers are going to try to go in with a lower offer, and sometimes they're successful and they can get a better deal. But oftentimes we're still seeing property selling over asking. So the over asking numbers, it's staying around 55, 53, 56 to about 60%. This is a very balanced market, a market where if property is just underpriced, below market, they're going to sell. It's not staying around. But if they're priced at market, it's going to take a little bit longer time, but eventually they will sell. Here's an interesting thing is that if you notice, every time we have a spike in number of new listings, the next couple of weeks, number of new listings tend to drop. That is because a lot of sellers, they were trying to see if they can get the price. They will list it for a couple of weeks or maybe a month, and if they can't see any activity, they're going to take it off the market. And this is what I'm seeing throughout in the condo market as well, is that listings will come up and then they will be off the market for a couple of months. sellers will bring it back maybe in August or September because they're not urgent. And the rental market is still doing well. So some of these for sale listings are actually going to convert into for lease listings. So we may have a decline in number of new listings, and that would be very helpful to stabilize the prices. Looking at the freehold average price, we see that it's in line with the increase in number of new listings. When number of new listings increases and the sale decreases, obviously it puts a downward pressure on the price. So we are seeing a little bit of a pullback on the pricing, but it's not a fire sale. A lot of the detached homes, they have dropped, but they are still selling for much more than 1 year ago. I think we are back to the prices of October, November pricing instead of the January, February peak. But you know, it's still early in 2022. It's only May. We still got the rest of the year. I think there are buyers that are delaying their move, but eventually they realize that they have to move and they are going to come out. And I'm also hearing that in June, there may not be a rate increase with the interest rate. We will see, and then we'll have to deal with the election as well. Depending on which party gets elected, there may be policy come out that will affect the market. But right now, it is a more balanced, more calmer market. Listings are not flying off the shelf. So if you're a buyer and you want to take advantage of this sort of quieter time, it's a great opportunity for you to find a good deal. You just need to work with somebody that's in it every day, professional full-time real estate agent that can sense a change in the market right away, because when it does change, it changed pretty quickly. We've seen it time and time again where it's very quiet for a couple of months, and all of a sudden all the buyers say, hey, I think it's time to make a move. They all think the same thing and they all come out, and suddenly we see a spike in the showings, in the activities, and therefore leads to higher prices. In the condo market, we're only looking at Toronto. So again, the same time frame, we're looking at the last 3 lines here. The number of new listings as well, has been increasing, and the number of transactions has decreased. No, okay. Sorry about that. So this also puts a pressure on the price. The average price of condo has not changed drastically. They've been quite stable even since the beginning of the year. I know we heard back in January there are some condos that sold for extremely high prices, but overall it's not everywhere. Probably very localized to a particular building, a few style, but not across the board. So that's why when we look at the average price, it's a very smooth line. It's not a line not like the freehold line where it goes up and down quite a bit. Condo has been very stable. We can say that prices are now back to, let's say, November, December level, but they've never been really high up, because don't forget, we're looking at a lot of high-end condos. The prices don't go up that much over time. They're around $2 million condo, $3 million condo. They're going to stay around that because the number of buyers, it's a very small group of buyers. They're willing to pay $3, $4, $5 million for a condo. Most likely they're downsizing. So they're not going to over time add another $1 million to that condo just because uh, there are a lot of competition. Usually there aren't that much competition. So prices for the higher end ones are pretty stable. And the prices for the 1 and 2 bedrooms, they tend to be increased slowly as well. They don't jump in a big jump, not like the freehold market where you could have a small townhouse, 1,800 square feet or 1,500 square feet, all of a sudden jump up like 300K, 400K, just because people getting out of the condo, they want a townhouse. So they're willing to pay for it without realizing that actually it's not that big. But in terms of the number of square footage, it seems to be much bigger than where they come from. So they're willing to pay double the price. If they sold their condo for, let's say, 700K, they're willing to pay like 1.2, 1.3 for a townhouse back in January. Now, those smaller townhouses are probably trading in just below 1.1, maybe around 1 mil, 1.1 in the York region. So that's a quick look at the overall market for the Toronto real estate. In the last couple of weeks, we are still, there are still activities. It is a slower time. If you have a listing that you want to sell, you have to give it some time. You either price it very low and take whatever you can get, or you price it at market and just wait and just let the inventory sort of dwindle down. Buyers are going to come back out. There are a lot of tenants that want to buy, and they want to take advantage of this sort of slower period in the real estate market. So they are going to buy as well. So you just have to give it time, work on it, work with a professional. Now, as part of today's video, I also wanted to talk about status certificate. We were just talking about condo. So if you were in the market to buy a condo, status certificate, it's something that you are going to come across. A lot of people don't really understand the purpose of it or what to look for. They leave it to the lawyer, which is fine. Lawyers do a fantastic job of reviewing status certificate, but oftentimes they are looking at things not the same way as you look at things. So what happens is they will give you their summary, but it might not pertain to your situation. So what I'm going to go through is 5 things over today's video and also next week's video, to talk about 5 things that as a buyer, you can take a look at yourself and to see if that condo is suitable for you. So these are the 5 things that we're going to look at in the next couple of weeks. And so today we're going to talk about the first 2, and then next week we're going to talk about these 3. So how much is the reserve fund? What is the actual what is actually included in the condo fee? How many units are leased? Who's the management company? And are there any ongoing legal issues? All of this info can be found in the first, I would say, 7 pages of the status certificate. Okay, so what is a status certificate? Now, status certificate is a document that you order when you're buying a condo, either through your real estate agent or through the seller. They can order from the management office. It's a thick document, usually contains many, many pages, but the most important pages are the first few pages that give you a summary of the health of the condo. And it is according to the Condo Act that any condo corporation must provide. Give you a snapshot of the health of the condo, because what you're buying is not only the unit that you're going to live in, you're also buying all the liabilities, all the things that are going on in the common area as well. A status certificate typically contains the following: the fiscal information of the condo, the recent budget, any money that they're anticipating to be spent. It's all in there. Allocation percentage for each unit. So when you buy a condo unit, you are buying a percentage of the not common element, the overall the combination of unit that contributes to the whole corporation. You're owning a percentage of it. So this allocates a percentage for your unit. Also, any parking, any locker that you own also contributes to a small percentage of the overall ownership. The decoration of the condo. So the decoration is like the bylaws, the Bible, everything that how the corporation is going to be comprised of, how it's going to be run. It's all in that there. So that's the decoration, something that the builder would have set out. The rules of the building. So this is the rules that every owner it needs to adhere to. Over time, there might be rule changes. So this document will also show you what's been updated. So lately, a lot of condos are banning cannabis growing. So that's something that was new. If the condo is older, they may not have the rule back when it was built. So these are added after. Any legal issues, it's on there. Reserve fund study. So show you in the next 3, 5, 10, 12, 20 years, what are the things that are anticipating to break that needs to be fixed. Special assessment are things that the condo board and the board of directors anticipate that they will need to spend that is not in the original budget. Something major that broke, they need to pull money out of the reserve fund to fix. Those are special assessment. Those are going to be in there. Management office must provide a copy within 10 days. So legally, they have 10 days to give you this. After you've requested, after it's paid, and typically it's only good for about 30 to 60 days. So this is because a lot of things can change over time. There could be a new rules. There could be the current owner could owe condo fee, things like that. So typically they're only good for 30, 60 days. If you have a long closing for a condo, you will want to request a fresh one before the closing. Next up, we're going to talk about the reserve fund, which is something that you can see in the status certificate. I believe it's page 2. You're going to be able to see how much money is in their piggy bank. Now, if you are buying a brand new condo, you should also see a certain amount for reserve fund, be it like 150,000, 200,000, or depending on number of units. All the new home builders in the agreement purchase and sale usually stipulates that once the condo corporation is formed, everyone will contribute an amount equal to at least 2 months of condo fee, so that there's something in there to start the account, start the bank account. So even if you buying a new condo and see there's zero reserve fund, you need to inquire, you need to ask why, because even new condos will need money to spend, right? You need to hire security guard, you need to hire cleaners. Where's that money going to come from? So that's why there should already be a reserve fund. Take a note that the age of the condo, which is something that you can easily Google and you can find out the age of it. And so an older condo should have a relatively higher condo fee. It's not unusual to see over $1 million, 1.3, 1.4, and even over $2 million in reserve fund. So the higher the reserve fund, relatively speaking, it's better, but also you need to, if the reserve fund is really high, you also need to ask your lawyer to check whether the reserve fund study is up to date or not. It might mean that they have deferred a lot of the repairs until the very last minute, which is not ideal also. So you need to inquire, right? If the number seems relatively okay, higher, you can also ask your real estate agent. They done this a long time, then they will have a sense of what the proper reserve fund should be for any particular building, or they can see any red flags. Also note the number of units in the condo. It should be disclosed in the status certificate as well. So if there are 600 units, reserve fund should be higher. There are only like 60 units, then your reserve fund of 700K seems pretty reasonable. Note that the date of reserve fund study, it should be within the 3 years. There are 3 levels of reserve fund studies. There's level 1, which is more comprehensive with on-site, or level 3, which is just a review of the previous numbers to make sure they're still in line. So take a look at the date on the reserve fund. I'm not asking you to analyze it, but just note the date. So I'll give you a quick summary. So if each unit contributes less than $2,000 per year, the reserve fund is probably underfunded. What I'm trying to say is, take a look at the, so in the condo fee, a portion of it goes to the reserve fund. And if everybody is contributing less than $200 a month to the reserve fund, then this condo is definitely underfunded. You can ask your lawyer to check what is the exact percentage of the month of the condo fee goes to the reserve fund. Let's say the condo fee is $500 a month. Not the whole 500 is going to the reserve fund. Some of it is going to go into other areas, maybe shared facilities, maybe other immediate spending areas, but the reserve fund should have more than $200 contribution per month for a proper condo corporation to run. Older condo that is sufficiently funded is still a good investment. So don't overlook older condos. If they have a lot of reserve fund and things are well taken care of, it may be a good property to buy versus brand new one where reserve fund is low and people don't have experience, the condo board don't have experience running it. It may not be as good of a choice. So keep that in mind. Newer buildings are getting too complicated. So because of all the new rules with green buildings, LED certification, things like that, newer buildings are getting much more complicated. Their elevators are getting more complicated. A lot of their garbage systems and all that are very complicated and very costly to maintain or to repair. So keep that in mind. If the condo seems very fancy, unless you're living there yourself, but if it's an investment property, you may not want to buy into it because all these systems are great when they're new, but 5 years in, you're going to run into a lot of repair bills. This system is not working, that system is not working well. So it also adds up to, higher condo fees. Okay, so talking about the condo fee, one of the things that you should also check yourself is not to trust what's on the listing, but check for yourself what is actually included. All this will be part of the package that you get. It will specify in there what exactly is included in the condo fee. So some of the things that are included or excluded, maybe water. Some buildings are actually sub-meter, so they don't include water. Hydro. Most of the time, hydro is not included anymore. Only buildings that are 15 to 20 year plus. Older buildings may include hydro, but most of the newer ones are not going to include hydro. Gas is often, you can use it like with buildings units that have gas cooking, you can use it, and most of the time gas is not going to be separately metered, so there's no extra charge, but double check, especially if the condo you're buying has gas cooking. Cable TV, some older buildings or even newer buildings may have basic cable TV included, so double check that. Internet, this is a new trend. a lot of the newer buildings, like the Tridel building, they actually include basic internet. That is because they have a lot of connected features that rely on the internet, such as the smart door lock. They have smart garage openers. You can also take a look at the intercom. You can look at the other services that the building provides, and it's through a screen or touchpad or something like that, and they do rely on the internet. So they are actually going to include basic internet, and you can always upgrade for higher speed or more features. Building insurance. Now, building insurance is it's almost always going to be included, but if you're buying a condo townhouse, you need to find out what that insurance covers. If it includes the roof, if it includes the exterior, things like that, you need to find out. Parking is almost always going to be included, but if you own more than each parking that you own, add another certain amount to your condo fee. So it's not unusual to see over $100 per month, but typically they're about $70, $80. Same thing with locker. Every locker that you own adds to the condo fee. So the exact same unit as yours upstairs, maybe they only have one parking, but you have two, your condo fee will be relatively higher. So locker, the same thing. So ensure that what you thought included are actually going to be included, because you don't want surprises if the condo fee is already pretty high and then you find out none of the utilities included. So that adds another $100 or more to your monthly spending. The typical fee is about 70 cents to 80 cents now. And up to $1 if it's like a nicer building, and maybe a little bit higher because they hire more expensive security guards, or they might have like two of them. So it really depends on the building. So it's not unusual nowadays to see $1 or just a little bit over $1 per square foot per month. And so that wraps up this week's review. I hope the information presented was useful. Again, it's Steven Sun at Homes by Sun with RE/MAX. Next week, we'll come back and take a look at what happened in this week in real estate. And also, we're going to finish up the last 3 points that you should pay attention to in the status certificate. That's it for now. And thanks for watching. See you next week.